Hey, today I want to talk about the moment things kind of changed for me. And this has to do with the power of choice and intention. Yeah, so you've probably heard me tell this story. If you haven't, recap. Where I used to just feel nothing. I had numbed myself. And all I could really feel was either apathy or distress of some sort. Like I wasn't good enough or like I was too much all at the same time. Yeah, so I think the main thing for me was that I really had to decide that I was worth my own effort and energy, that my well-being mattered enough to me that I would take action and take care of myself. Yeah, it sounds kind of basic or just stupid or not even like a thing, but honestly just choosing and setting a conscious intention really made all the difference. I'd always kind of been doing yoga on and off since I was 15. Would go through these phases of doing it, because I've always connected with it. But after I was put on antidepressants, or I should say SSRIs, and went even more numb, I at some point just had this kind of moment of clarity. And I'm not, I would be lying if I said what exactly that was, but something in me just kind of changed, something in my perception just switched, and I realized that if I want to feel better, it's up to me. A little pill isn't gonna do anything. It just like changes your brain chemistry. And I'll tell you, coming off of those things, I was only on them for 3 months, but coming off of them after that amount of time was enough to prove to me that it was absolutely the correct decision, because it was horrible, honestly, some of the things that I went through that it made me feel, because you go through literal withdrawal, and it's very bad. It's very, 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 very uncomfortable. It does all kinds of things to your body. I was having brain zaps and stuff, and was that a crow? No, I think it was a goose. What was I saying? So what I wanted to say about me doing yoga was that it really helped me to build that kind of capacity to feel my feelings and witness them without judging them or becoming attached. So, there are a lot of different practices available to us that teach this. So, there's Qigong, and something like Tai Chi, I would say, probably helps with something like this. Meditation, any kind of mindful activity, of which there are many, helps so much with this, and that's really the point of mindfulness, is to cultivate that space within yourself, for allowing all these things to flow through you, all these experiences. This guy axle grinding is disturbing me. It's distracting. Okay, yeah, but there are many things available to us, and really the key is just choosing to trust that the being that we are is worthy of the attention that we deny ourselves, but that we actually all crave. And by attention, I mean loving attention, care, nurturing, being acknowledged for who you are without judgment, unconditional love. And I think we take these things for granted, most of us have not been shown unconditional love, and it results in challenges. So my challenge to you, because I'm now of the mindset that challenge is a good thing, because that's how we grow and move beyond our current state, which I think is valuable for most of us, to be able to expand. And I think really is the meaning of life, is to experience as much of it as possible. I've lost track of what I was saying. That's okay though, I think you get my points. There is so much available to us if we just open ourselves up to it and choose to nurture ourselves, because it's so incredibly difficult to receive and give love when we cannot give it to ourselves. Or that's not true. It's not that we can't give it to ourselves, it's that we choose not to, that we don't believe we're worthy of it because maybe we haven't received it from some external source, which we believe we need. We need to get that validation from outside in order to feel worthy of it. But the truth is, no amount of external validation is going to change anything for you if you don't inherently believe, or if you don't believe for yourself that you are inherently worthy. So yoga really helped me with that. It was just a starting point though, and it's really a practice. But I think in each moment where we struggle, or where we find ourselves struggling, can you show yourself some compassion and grace and kindness and that unconditional love, and use that to say, okay, well, maybe I'm being a bit hard on myself, and maybe instead of being angry at myself for feeling anxiety or whatever, being upset with myself about that, maybe I can just say, okay, I'm feeling anxious in this moment, and I think it's because of this, so I'm gonna do my best to take a step back and recalibrate, because that's really what this is. All of it is just a recalibration of our perception, and it's totally 100% possible. Reality is incredibly subjective, and just choosing to see the positive potential in something can really be the start of major change. So if you believe that good things are not possible, you will not be able to receive good things. So yeah. Okay, yeah, so that medication was horrible, honestly, and I will admit that it did help me for a short amount of time, but it also caused some harm, which I think needs to be acknowledged. So I'm not going to say that it was all bad. I think it did help me to kind of equalize in a way. And I'm not throwing shade on people who do use medication. It was not right for me. It really was not right for me. And what I actually needed was just to learn how to feel my feelings and not be afraid of them. As ridiculous as that sounds, as simple as it seems, I think a lot of us maybe suffer from this thing where we think that because we're feeling anxiety, it needs to, it has some kind of grip over us, when that's not really necessarily true. You can choose not to let it overtake you, you can choose not to give it any more weight than any other feeling. And, I find it much more helpful when you use your feelings as a barometer for or almost as a compass, What are your feelings really telling you? And how can you use them to your own benefit instead of using them as a way to trap yourself? And I think it can be difficult for people. There are a lot of flies around. It can be difficult for people to kind of separate themselves from their feelings, because I think they can be quite all-encompassing. It feels like it's everything, at least for me. That's definitely how it can feel. But you gotta just grow the skill to be able to take a step back, and it's actually a lot simpler than it seems. Mostly I would say it requires an open mind and just the willingness to question, and to just go a bit deeper than the feeling, like instead of just instead of just focusing on the feeling, and just having that be everything, can you go a little bit deeper and inspect what the feeling is actually telling you? Because I think that's really it. Most of us just stop at the feeling when there's layers beyond it. And the more you can unravel or uncover those layers, the more oh, these flies are so annoying. The more your feelings are able to serve you instead of trap you. I just, I know what it's like, and it's so overwhelming when you feel like you have no control. But here's the thing, is that we all actually have over ourselves way more control than we kind of believe, or maybe are taught, Also, I think feelings in the Western world have been vilified, yet also placed on a pedestal in some way. If you think about like the economy and like currencies and all that kind of stuff, stock exchanges, all of that is, the cold hard world of finance, and it's like very masculine driven, and but all of that is based on feelings and perceptions. None of it's based on actual concrete value and worth. It's all just feelings. But at the same time, feelings are made out to be this like bad thing, you know, like don't show your emotions because it's inappropriate, even though literally having emotions is normal and a part of life and like part of being a human. If you aren't able to feel things, then you're kind of dead in a way. And you know, I don't want to be a machine. You know, arguably we're all kind of cyborgs already with all the tech that we use, but yeah, what I realized from this whole thing, my whole transformation from non-feeling intentionally, or actually not even intentionally, just kind of numbing myself as a coping mechanism because I was vilifying my own feelings, to embracing them and saying, you know what, maybe they're actually here to serve me. That whole change just shifts everything. Yeah, so I encourage you to, you know, next time if you're feeling like an emotion is ruling you or getting in the way, instead of maybe trying to run from it, choose to acknowledge it, to feel it, and to maybe ask yourself, what is this feeling telling me? You know, why am I having this? Is it because of this exact circumstance, or maybe this circumstance is reminding me of something that happened to me? And in that moment, maybe in the past, I felt threatened, but that doesn't mean that this is the same story. And I think there's value for all of us to be found in this practice. Yeah, so what is the lesson? You have a choice, and your choice is incredibly powerful. Yeah, being intentional with our decisions and our actions, that's really where it all starts. So, yeah, you got this. Have a great day.